Jill Stein, everybody, huh? Jill Stein. So Jill Stein vandalizes a Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline bulldozer. She vandalized it. She spray painted the blade, at least, of the bulldozer. And so, you know, in Jill Stein I trust. Jill, baby Jill. So on Tuesday, September 6, 2016, yesterday, Jill Stein, our Green New Deal savior, our anti-war clean energy by 2030, pro-legalization of marijuana, anti-war on drugs, female version of Bernie Sanders, only she's more principled than Bernie, and Jill Stein is the only person who can save America, who can make America great for the first time. Yesterday, Jill Stein was videotaped spray painting the front blade of a bulldozer in a field in North Dakota. Jill Stein tagged that bulldozer's blade with the message, "I approve this message," in red spray paint. Jill Stein is rowdy, right? And she's vandalizing. What a criminal. So what was the message she approved of? She approved of a partial stopping of the Bakken pipeline construction that a federal judge had issued yesterday. The anti-Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline protests took place on September 6, 2016 at 10:30 in the morning at a construction spot on County Road 35 and Highway 6, 2 miles east of Highway 1806, near the small hamlet of Cannonball, North Dakota, where the confluence of the Cannonball River and Missouri River meet in Owyhee Lake. And Lake Owyhee Lake is a large reservoir behind the Owyhee Dam on the Missouri River. It begins in central South Dakota and continues north into North Dakota. There were 200 protesters there at the Red Warrior protest camp. 2 protesters had attached themselves to the bulldozers. Now, Morton County Sheriff Kyle Kirchmeyer said that Jill Stein is going to face charges of trespassing and vandalism. Oh, man, he's going to get her. He's going to show her. Oh, no. Oh, no. And you know what? Good. I hope he actually does it. There would be no better catalyst for Jill Stein's campaign than getting arrested for fighting for truth, justice, righteousness, and the Native American way. That'll bring some much-needed publicity for her campaign, as well as shining a brighter light on the largest gathering of Native Americans in all of America's history. It'll also open up the gates of hell for Morton County Sheriff Kyle Kirchmeyer. And we'll also get to see if North Dakota's cops and jailers, if they're corrupt, and see how they treat those that they capture. I'm guessing that they're probably like a Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane. I bet you Kyle Kirchmeyer is the Roscoe P. Coltrane of Morton County, North Dakota. I guess we'll find out. I also want to kind of mention that some of these articles were saying that Jill Stein allegedly spray painted, or that the authorities claim. No, Jill Stein spray painted it, okay? She spray painted that blade of that bulldozer with a can of red spray paint on camera. I think there was like, what, maybe 4 or 5 camera phones that were on her. She did it, obviously. It was on videotape, and it's available online for the world to see. So, are you kidding me? Do y'all not have eyes? Of course she did it, but it's like some reporters just need an authority to claim that something happened for it to be true, because that's how reporters work, right? They listen to the authority, they write their words down verbatim, and then they just assume anything that the authorities say is the whole truth, the complete truth, and nothing but the truth. So, the official government lie, of course the government, they would never lie. They've never lied about the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam. Nah, they wouldn't lie just to get us into a war that we don't need to be in. They wouldn't say that the Maine sunk or was bombed by the Spanish to get us into the Spanish-American War, which eventually made us into an empire. Or maybe that was actually the landing of Christopher Columbus. That was kind of imperialist, right? Have we stopped being imperialist? We've been kind of imperialist the whole time, right? So, but this time the authority actually did say something that was true. It's not alleged. It actually happened. A major presidential candidate tagged the Bulldozer. This is a national campaign. They're neck and neck. Even if you think that it's irrelevant, she can't win. She can take enough in order to make sure one of the other ones don't win. So she's significant in that regard. And she could, I think she can win the damn thing, frankly. Especially since she's the only one that actually gives a shit about the people. So, you know, who gives a shit? Who gives a flying fuck that she spray-panned the blade of a bulldozer? The bulldozer can still work. Just now, the blade of the bulldozer looks a little bit prettier. And plus, it was tagged by an angel. It was kissed by a rose. Jill Stein just increased the eBay value of that bulldozer by 20%. So she's increased its market value. If anything, Kyle Kirchmeier should be happy and thanking Jill Stein. Get Donald Trump out there and get him to spray paint some shit too. You know, make all that equipment increase its value. So Jill Stein increased the eBay value of that bulldozer by 20%. You should be happy about it. And one point more importantly, graffiti, aka tagging, is one of the 4 elements of hip hop. The 4 elements of hip-hop are b-boying, which is breakdancing, MCing, which is spitting, DJing, and graffiti. So this means that Jill Stein is hip-hop. She's hip-hop. And what was the specific message that Jill Stein approved? Well, there was a partial work stoppage injunction that the U.S. District Judge James Boasberg issued on Tuesday, yesterday. That's the message that she approved of. That injunction will temporarily halt construction between State Highway 1806 and 20 miles east of Lake Oahe, right? Oahe? I think it's Oahe. A-O-A-H-E, Oahe, right? And work west. But the work west of the highway would continue. So it's a mixed result for the Bakken-Pipeline protesters. The judge, James Boasberg, believed that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers lacks jurisdiction on private land. So for the construction between State Highway 1806 and 20 miles east of Lake Oahe, the protesters were successful. But west of State Highway 1806, it was a failure, right? The construction will carry on west. And so I think it's a mixed result. The injunction granted by James Boasberg is different than the tribe's overall bigger goal that challenges federal regulators' decision to grant permits to the operators of the 4-state pipeline. So that decision, James Boasberg, the judge, is going to issue a full opinion on that lawsuit by the end of this Friday, 2 days from now. The reasons that Jill Stein is in solidarity with the Stand and Rock Sioux and the many Native Americans that are there, and probably white, black, and brown people too, is for many reasons. But for one, she's in favor of solidarity. She's for the people. And the people are they're coming in masses. People trump property, labor trumps capital, and Native Americans trumps huge corporate conglomerates, especially big oil, who's owned by overly wealthy CEOs. Jill Stein is for the people. She's for solidarity, and there's plenty of love and solidarity there amongst the Stand and Rock protesters. Jill Stein also believes that it's not okay to pollute our waters. Jill Stein believes that it's not okay to violate international laws for informed consent from Indigenous peoples. You've got to get the Indigenous peoples part of the decision-making. You can't just bypass their decision. It's not okay in terms of putting our climate at risk, especially our water supply. Water is all too scarce. Water is life. It's our life force. Water is the first medicine. Water is absolutely vital for the earth, for the people, for their bodies, for the crops and animals. The Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline the pipeline will carry 500,000 barrels of polluted blackened crude oil every year. 500,000 barrels. You're telling me that that'll never seep out to the water? They never have any accidents? Didn't they just have like a big accident that killed 70 people just a couple years ago? So the Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC, it happens all the time, actually, to be honest with you, but the Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline is here to benefit the wealthy, the uber-wealthy, big oil, who actually has a stranglehold on our national government and all their bourgeoisie investors. I can remember, and I'm feeling old, I'm going to date myself here, when gasoline was 99 cents in the 90s. And I'd be pissed off if it went over $1. I'd be like, $1.05? What the heck is going on? I am never going to that gas station ever again. That is not fair. Now it's between $2, $3, $3.50. Wouldn't it get close to $5 there a couple years ago? The big oil companies are only worried about maximizing profits, and they'll raise it as far and as high as the American people will tolerate. And so apparently we tolerate around $2. So Kelsey Warren, this is the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, the construction company behind the Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline. Good old, honorable, and respectable Kelsey Warren, a 61-year-old white male, American citizen, I think. So good old, honorable, respectable Kelsey Warren is worth $6.6 billion. Good old Kelsey Warren is one of the top 200 richest people in the United States. He's number 181. In 2010, Kelsey Warren bought a $3,500 acre ranch in Colorado for $46.5 million. Kelsey Warren also owns an 8,000 acre ranch near Cherokee, Texas. And Kelsey Warren owns a private island located near Roatan, Honduras. A private fucking island. A private fucking island. You know, because when a $46.5 million, 3,500 acre ranch in Colorado and an 8,000 acre ranch in Cherokee, Texas isn't enough, why not just go ahead and buy yourself a fucking private island? And that's not it. Kelsey Warren is married with one child, Clyde Warren, the namesake of the new Clyde Warren Park in downtown Dallas, Texas. So even his child has a park already named in his honor. And sometimes the Warren family goes around just laughing at the poor people in all the trailer parks and the ghetto and the homeless. They have themselves a laugh. It's just something fun that they do. Kelsey Warren, he also has a house in Preston Hollow, Dallas, Texas on an 8-acre estate on Park Lane valued at more than $25 million. So he's got an 8-acre estate. He's got, 3,500 acre ranch, 8,000 acre ranch, and a private island. It's not too much for you, I hope. I hope that's not, you're like, mo money, mo problems. I'm sure he's got his, poor guy. I'm sure, something breaks. It's all him, right? It all falls on him. And what's his political leanings? Well, in 2015, Kelsey Warren donated $6 million to Governor Rick Perry's presidential campaign. Rick Perry, who wanted to get rid of the Departments of Commerce, Education, and what was that other one? Oh, yeah, Energy. He wanted to get rid of the Department of Energy. That was a big fucking surprise there, right? Kelsey Warren is the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, and that's the corporation that is building this pipeline. And isn't that a great name for a corporation? It's Energy Transfer Partners. Very forgettable. Just some bland, easy-to-forget name. Energy Transfer Partners. The ETP, Eating Total Populations, I don't know. We need to come up with a nickname for this fucking company. How about the Evil Anti-Environment Corporation who hates Native American babies corporation? I don't know. That might be too long. Maybe one of you could help me out? Or not, whatever. Just FYI, Energy Transfer Partners is a master limited partnership, which is, in American legalese, a limited partnership that is publicly traded on an exchange qualifying under Section 7704 of the Internal Revenue Code. A master limited partnership combines the tax benefits of a limited partnership with the liquidity of publicly traded securities. Okay? The Master Limited Partnership mandate makes for bigger dividends for stockholders, greater profits, since it avoids the so-called double taxation of dividends. A Master Limited Partnership is a legal trick, so they don't have to pay all of their taxes. So that's, it's going to go help the Warren family, so that's great, right? They get to make a shit ton more money, rich get richer, and then, they might pollute your damn water. And, yeah, they'll take your land, eminent domain. Hey, it's a public service here. Hey, we're trying to help the public. So, the Bakken crude oil and or maybe natural gas pipeline is, coming through North Dakota, so that way North Dakota can experience some of the great earthquakes that Oklahoma is experiencing. And it's here to benefit the well-off at the expense of the poor and the land that we all live on and the water we all drink. So the oil companies are using hydraulic fracking and horizontal drilling technology in the Bakken region. And who owns the Bakken region? Is that a national park? Why do we continue to allow our collective property to be sold out for pennies on the dollar? I hope the Bakken region is not a national park. There's a bunch of oil and gas companies with drilling rigs in the Bakken Formation. And they're fracking up there too. And the Bakken Formation is in the northwest part of North Dakota. So right now at the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation protest sites, there's over 2,500 people there representing over 120 tribes. And that includes the Meskwaki and all the 7 Sioux Council fires. All 7 of the Sioux Council Fire Nations are there, which is the first time all the nations of the Sioux have come together since the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, when George Armstrong Custer was defeated at Custer's Last Stand. There's the 7 Sioux Nations, the Meskwaki, and even the Pawnee and the Crow Native Americans have come to show their support and solidarity with the Sioux, which is remarkable since the Pawnee and the Crow have been traditionally enemies of the Sioux. So this protest is historic. At the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, you're seeing the largest gathering of Native Americans ever in the history of the United States. And the corporate media has completely ignored it, just as they've completely ignored Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, even though more than half the people of the United States want to see them in the debates. The Standing Rock protesters are living on makeshift camps on Standing Rock Reservation's border on the Cannonball River, where the confluence of the Missouri River and Cannonball River meet, which is where the Bakken Pipeline is supposed to cross. The makeshift camps are located on the spot where the Bakken Pipeline is supposed to cross, so that there's a human shield to stop the Bakken, a.k.a. Dakota-Access-Pipeline, from going through. The Cannonball River forms the northern border of Sioux County, North Dakota. And all of Sioux County, North Dakota, is part of the Standing Rock Reservation. The whole county is the reservation, but Standing Rock Reservation is actually much bigger than just in the Sioux County, North Dakota. The biggest part is actually in South Dakota. The Standing Rock Reservation is a Hunkpapa, Lakota, and Yanktonai Dakota Indian reservation in both North and South Dakota in the United States, in case you did not know that the North and South Dakota was in the U.S. The much larger portion is located in South Dakota. The size of the Standing Rock Reservation is 3,600 miles. So square miles, which is large. That's a big swath of land. That's actually a really huge, large swath of land. 3,600 miles is the size of the Standing Rock Reservation. So the Cannonball River pours into the Missouri River, the mother source, in Lake Oahe, near the town of Cannonball, population of 875 people, and it's located completely inside the Standing Rock Reservation. The Bakken Pipeline, a.k.a. the Dakota-Access-Pipeline, is a proposed 1,134-mile pipeline, 1,134 miles. The Black Snake and the Bakken Pipeline, the Bakken-Dakota-Access-LLC-Pipeline that aims to transport crude oil from the oil fields in the Bakken Shale region in the northwestern part of North Dakota and from the Three Forks hydrofracking site started in Stanley, North Dakota, and carrying it downwards diagonally, headed southeast through South Dakota, Iowa, and then to a hub in Patoka, Illinois. From Patoka, Illinois, it would connect with a pipeline to the Gulf Coast for storage or for refinement and export, or reach East Coast markets by rail. Energy Transfer owns a natural gas pipeline from Patoka south to storage terminals it owns through Sunoco Logistics Partners and terminals by Houston-based Phillips 66 in Nederland, Texas, which is retrofitted to crude oil. Phillips 66, Sunoco. Remember these, because all those are subsidiaries of the Energy Transfer Partners. So the Warren family owns all these companies, or the father at least. The Dakota Access Pipeline is being constructed by the Dallas-based Energy Transfer Partners. Energy Transfer Partners is a Fortune 500 natural gas and propane company. So where's the oil part? It's natural gas and propane, but they're the ones that's constructing, and it's corporations, man. They're confusing. One person will be a vice president of this, and they do all this shake-up, pretending like, you know, it's all within the family anyways. ETP has had many companies merge into it. So Energy Transfer Partners is huge. It's part Sunoco. They bought Sunoco, the gas station, so that's merged with ETP. Energy Transfer Partners also had Stripes, a chain of about 600 convenience stores in Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma merged with it. And Regency Energy Partners also was merged along with the ETP as well. The Energy Transfer Partners. Stupid name. Dakota-Access-LLC is a subsidiary of ETC, so Dakota Access. That's why I say LLC. It's the Bakken, they call it the Bakken Pipeline, but since we're talking about this particular region, it's, you know, 1,100-mile pipeline, so we're talking about this particular region, so it's the Dakota Access LLC. But they made a specific corporation for the Dakota Access LLC, and that's a subsidiary of ETC. So it's an LLC inside of a ETC, the partner, limited partner, master partnership, or what have you, the tax scheme, the tax avoiding scheme. And so that LLC is a subsidiary. Dakota Access is a subsidiary of the Energy Transfer Partners. And in October 2014, the Houston-based Phillips 66 became a joint venture partner owning a 25% stake in the Bakken-Dakota-Access LLC-Pipeline. 25%. Phillips 66 is a big deal, right? We just heard about they owned terminals, and they have, let's see, storage terminals and whatever. So that's where they're storing it, right? All in Nederland, Texas. And Phillips 66 co-owns the Energy Transfer crude oil pipeline from Patoka to the storage terminals in Nederland, Texas. So they own the pipeline and some storage terminals. And it co-owns the storage terminals with Philadelphia-based Sunoco Logistics Partners. And again, Sunoco has been fully owned subsidiary of Energy Transfer Partners since 2012. Energy Transfer Partners is a huge corporate conglomerate. Marathon Gas and Enbridge are also part of the Bakken-Dakota-Access-Pipeline. Just recently, Enbridge pulled the plug on the Sandpiper pipeline in Minnesota after Marathon and Energy Transfer Partners dropped out of it. So that was a big success for Minnesota Native Americans. The Sandpiper pipeline is not going to go through. Now they're focused on the Dakota Access LLC. The banks that are financing the $3.8 billion pipeline project are the Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley. Big-ass banks, right? The fucking banks that collapsed the whole fucking economy. I'm glad they're doing fine. I'm glad the banks and the oil companies are doing okay. Really, isn't that all that matters? I mean, when it comes to our politicians who's being funded by their, campaign contributions, of course money is speech, Citizens United, right? Poor corporations, they need friends too. Who's going to defend the wealthy and the corporations if the politicians and our government doesn't help them out? The Standing Rock Sioux Native Americans say that the Dakota Access Pipeline threatens sacred sites, such as their ancient burial grounds, and they could potentially pollute their water. While the Black Bakken Snake, the Dakota Access Pipeline, the Black Snake, doesn't go directly through the Standing Rock Reservation. It does go 1/2 a mile above the Standing Rock Reservation, and since the pipeline will go through the river, a busted pipe would affect the Missouri River and the Owyhee Lake, which is where the Sioux Native Americans get their water from. Their drinking water, plumbing, irrigation. The Missouri River are the Sioux's mother river. The Missouri River are the tribe's only source of fresh drinking water, and water is a life force. Water is the first medicine. Water is H2O, made up of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Initially, the Bakken-Dakota-Access Pipeline was planned on going through the Missouri River north of Bismarck, North Dakota's capital, which has a population of 61,000. But they're like, oh man, the pipe might break and then it'll bust into their water. So they didn't want to mess with the the good whites of Bismarck, so they went ahead and just dropped it on down to Cannonball. So they changed it. It wasn't good enough to be around Bismarck, you know, population 61,000, so they go ahead, let's just put the pipeline near Cannonball, within 1 mile from the town of Cannonball, which is located at the confluence of the Cannonball and Missouri rivers. So you have the Cannonball and Missouri River. Here's the Standing Rock Reservation, and it's going right here. So it's going right above it, right past the border, and so the Missouri River runs down, busted pipe. Everybody's water has now got a shit ton of oil in it. So the pipeline doesn't literally go through the reservation, but it comes very close, within a half a mile, and a bursted pipe would fuck up their water supply. And it's not just drinking water, irrigation, and crops and animals. Earlier last year, Barack Obama stopped the construction of the Keystone Pipeline due to environmental reasons. In April 2016, 3 federal agencies, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. Department of Interior, and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, requested that a full environmental impact statement of the pipeline needed to be conducted, and that hasn't happened yet. So there has not been a full environmental impact statement. 3 weeks ago, North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple signed an emergency declaration, and he almost called in the National Guard. And if you look at the history between how our government has treated Native Americans, that standoff could have some dire consequences for the protesters. I also can't ignore the fact that we're using all these Native American words. 50% of the U.S. states are named after Native American words. You got Dakota, which means friendly. Missouri sounds Native American. Oahe, Cannonball, Sioux, Iowa, Illinois, even vandalism. Vandals were a Germanic tribe. And then Copernic has been getting some media coverage, and people are saying that's a distraction. I don't think so. I think we're fighting the same fight. We stalemated the War of 1812. The only good thing that came out of the War of 1812 was the Star-Spangled Banner. Though it's racist, right? It's kind of racist. And I wonder, plus it was written by a slave owner. And I wonder how good it really was, especially when you consider that our Star-Spangled War killed lots of Native Americans, such as Tecumseh and the Shawnee and the Miami and the Creek Red Sticks, the Ojibwe and the Fox and the Iroquois and the Mingo and the Ottawa and the Kickapoo and the Lenape, the Mascoutins, Potawatomis, the Sox, the Ho-Chunks, who racists call the Winnebagos. Don't fucking call them the Winnebago. They're the Ho-Chunks and the Wyandots. So there was a genocide with the War of 1812, which is where our national anthem comes from. So the Star-Spangled War killed Tecumseh and a whole bunch of Native Americans, so that way white people could steal their land. And so we give them the shitty land, and that's the reservations. That's their land. So actually we have nation inside of a nation. They have their own laws, they govern themselves, and if there's anything that affects them, they're decision makers just like anybody else. So that's it for now. I hope I got all that. Thank you for listening.